Well, hey guys, I'm here with Justin Roethlingshoefer, and he is the owner of Own It, and it's a health and performance company, and they are helping transform the lives, the health, the life, the physical life, the spiritual life of so many people across our country. And he has an incredible message, and I just wanted to spend some time with you, Justin, because man, you have changed my life. You're changing my family's life. And I told Cindy, I said, I got to get him in front of some of my friends. And so I invited you here to Charleston, and we've got about 60 people showing up shortly. And you're just going to give them a message to help them get a great start to 2025. So thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do. And thank you for how you've already blessed my family in so many ways.
Well, I just want to thank you and just honor to you for just having just a heart of a servant and a heart to just give back to people like you. I don't know if you guys have listened to a lot of Mac's work, anything on leadership, anything from some of his limited series that he puts out. You know that he is the world's best encourager and somebody who just sees the good in everything, the good in everyone, and you're able to call it out and call it up. And so just really appreciative to you, and just even the whole premise of why I'm here and how God orchestrated this thing to make it happen, where you brought me in to really just serve your friends. It wasn't even about you, but yet at the end of the day, we've been able to really just give back to you in a cool way. And that is just so life-giving to me, in knowing that the man that was wanting to give ultimately was the one that received.
I've received so much. All right. I want to continue this blessing of my friends and extended friends by doing this podcast. And so I want you to start by talking about your health journey.
Yeah.
You're extremely fit. You're very healthy, but you weren't always that way. And so tell us a little bit about your story and how you got a passion for fitness and nutrition.
I think when you think about it, I think a lot of people who are in this space have always felt like they weren't heard, were misunderstood, couldn't figure it out. And the reason that I love the health space and the health and performance industry, whatever you want to call it, health, wellness, longevity, is that you have the opportunity to really impact people's lives in a positive way. Because if you have your health, you have hope. And if you have hope, you have everything.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, the enemy wants to attack our health. And if he can attack your health, you lose hope. And if you lose hope, you have nothing. And I think so often, for me as a young child, I knew that I loved the body. I loved the way that it worked. I was fascinated by it, and at the same time, felt so misunderstood, felt so unheard, felt so gaslit in a lot of different rooms I was in, and simply because I couldn't figure this thing out, this unique body that we live in. So I grew up a fat kid. And a fat kid that was made fun of, that was teased, that was left out. The only thing that was really something that would fulfill me was my athletic performance, the way in which I would play baseball, the way in which I would play hockey, the way in which I would play a sport. And that fat kid became an anorexic kid. An anorexic kid that one summer, I still remember, started to train for the first time, started to eat differently, and all of a sudden, very quickly, lost weight and felt really, really good, and was affirmed for how I looked, instead of teased, instead of left out, instead of made fun of. And I'll still remember this for the rest of my life. It was at that moment that I think I first realized what fear actually felt like. Because I walked into the hockey arena, and I remember a father looking at me going, "My gosh, Justin, you look amazing." I remember a couple kids walking in and looking at me, looking back, walking by me, and then looking all of a sudden back going, "Justin."
Yeah.
For the first time in the locker room when I was getting changed, nobody was like poking fun of me. I didn't feel self-conscious taking my shirt off. Like, all of these things were firsts for me, and that first thing of feeling fear of like, I don't want to go back to what I was.
Wow.
I don't want to go back to what I had felt before. And so that gripping feel of fear ultimately took what is now, I say, my greatest blessing of OCD, dyslexia, ADD, like all the disorders that I had growing up, I took those and I put my hooks and grips into learning. So at 14 years old, I was measuring heart rate variability. I was measuring my sleep quality. I was measuring my blood oxygen levels. I was tracking everything that every exercise I would do. I wore a heart rate monitor. Like,
wow.
As a 14-year-old kid, I still remember going up to my parents, and this is back in 1999.
Okay.
And so I still remember I said to my dad, I was like, "Hey, Dad, for Christmas, I want a heart rate monitor." And he looks at me and goes, "Are you sick?" I was like, "No, I want to know. I want to like track some things. I want to look at some things."
Wow.
And he's like, "Well, dude, like this is 1999. Like this is a expensive gift."
Right, yeah.
And so I was like, pool everybody's money, get it all together.
Yeah.
I need one gift. That's
Yeah,
it. The
yeah.
only thing I need. And so
Wow.
I got obsessed with really understanding my body. But again, because it came from a space of fear, because it came from a space of misunderstanding, because it came from a space of not truly knowing, it drove me through this deep anorexic state. And I still remember going to all the doctors. I still remember going to all the psychologists. I still remember going to everybody, and everybody labeled me as anorexic, bulimic, sick, broken, something was wrong inside. When in the actual point, like nobody saw me for who I was. Nobody saw me for what was actually happening internally. And I still remember saying on so many occasions, I don't know why I feel this way.
Yeah.
I don't know why I feel this way. I know what you want me to do, but there's a block as to why I can't get there. There's a block as to why I can't do what you're asking. And nobody saw it as that. And so it wasn't until I got a coach in when I was 17 years old that really helped to flip a switch and open something and unlock a newfound understanding of how I could use this fear as fuel and to step into some area of faith as to what I was going into. And it literally it unlocked something in me overnight where I was able to go like, oh my gosh, like I need to use this as fuel for me, as to like something that I actually learn how to do this the right way, and that this body is a temple that I can actually go and fuel it properly and do something magnificent and do something impactful. Yeah. I was driving home from the doctor's office with my mom. We'd just gone at the University of Alberta Hospital up in Canada. And I still remember sitting in the front seat. The session did not go well. Just again, telling me that I was sick, telling me that I wasn't trying, telling me that I had to really want to change if anything was going to heal, telling me that if I didn't make a different decision, they were going to take hockey away from me and I was going to sit in the hospital with a feeding tube. Wow. And like just fear tactics, like things that just, I was like, this doesn't feel right.
Right.
And I still remember sitting in the front seat. I was depressed. I was anxious. I had all of these things going on. And I just started to break down and I just bawled. And my mom was crying. She was trying to pray over me. And I just said to her, I said, I don't know why I feel this way. And she reached over and she looked at me and she goes, I don't know why you're feeling this either, but I know God's going to use it for good.
Wow.
And that's just the woman of faith that she is.
Yeah.
And so as I got this coach in my life, helped me heal, came down to the United States by the grace of God on a hockey scholarship, started my educational journey.
Yeah.
2 undergraduate degrees, exercise science, nutrition, went and got my master's degree, went and did some postgraduate research in heart rate variability and recovery. And I say all of that to say that every single thing that I learned did not make sense. Because every book that I read contradicted the experience that helped heal me. Wow. There was a gap. There was something missing.
Yeah.
Every single time I was sitting in a room with a professor, I would say, hey, why is this the case? Right. Why should we believe this? Why is this the truth? And nobody could give me an answer. They were just like, well, that's just the way it is. That's just what we've always done. That's just what the book says. Yeah. But never actually going deeper. And it wasn't until I actually went to massage therapy school that all of a sudden everything clicked for me. And it's like the body is a holistic, integrated ecosystem. Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. The body doesn't know the difference. And in actuality, we have to see it as an integrated system. We have to treat it that way. Yeah. And that really just changed my trajectory and change the game for a newfound wisdom, like a revelation and an unlock, to really start to step into, hey, what does this look like? And how do we now do this differently than what it is that we're learning in school? And that really set up the rest of my next 15 years.
Wow. So part of your journey, there's this sense of insecurity about your body image.
Big time.
And I think a lot of people wrestle with that. And so talk to me about the motivation to change when it's a body image issue versus, which is really being driven by an insecurity, versus being driven by a healthy motivation to change your health trajectory.
And I think the biggest gap that happens there, or the biggest difference, is wisdom. Because when you go from a space of insecurity and fear, you have to come back to the concept of the Holy Spirit lives inside each and every one of us.
Right.
There's a calling on each and every one of our lives. The enemy can't take your calling. So instead of taking your calling, he tries to steal your confidence. And the way that he tries to steal your confidence is by the lies that you're not good enough, that you don't look good, that no way you could go and stand in front of people and talk. Look at the way you look. And the way in which we start to have that emotion torn inside of us starts with this tool, the temple in which we're all walking around in. This meat suit is more than just a muscles and abs and blood and guts. It actually contains the most sacred thing that we could have, which is the Holy Spirit, the thing that's guiding us. And the enemy knows that. And so if he knows that the greatest thing that exists lives inside of you, lives inside of you, lives inside of you, what do you think he's going to attack first? And he's going to attack it in a way that ultimately lets us not step into that. And so for me, coming into like this area of insecurity, until I knew and had the wisdom of how to fight back, and fighting back wasn't in the sense of like somewhere in some level of aggression, but actually in a sense of ownership. Ownership from a wisdom standpoint, ownership from a how is my body operating standpoint, a wisdom standpoint of being able to understand why certain things are happening. And that was just a massive transformation for me.
And a lot of people don't experience that. So they make a determination, I need to make a physical change. Maybe because of something internal, a lie they're believing, or maybe it's the way they look, an insecurity, a body image issue. And so they make this determination, I'm going to change. But then because that motivation isn't exactly right, now they go to extremes. Or they try fads. They try gimmicks. They try quick fixes. And so they're just going after that change, which might make them look different on the outside, but it's not healing the inside.
Well, even to like take that a layer deeper, is what ends up happening is the world tells us that it's a physical issue. It's the way you look. You don't look the right way. There's something wrong with the way that your appearance is. And so it's a physical thing. So the world says six-pack abs, muscles, fit in a certain pair of jeans, look a certain way in a certain pair of clothes. So I need to do some form of diet, some form of exercise, some form of something to attain this.
That works fast and easy.
Correct. Exactly. And so when we take a physical approach first, it erodes us at the emotional level. Thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not far enough along. I can't do this. I'm not worth it. Which poisons our mind. To say that, I guess I'm not this person. Man, I guess God didn't call me to this. Man, I guess I'm never going to realize this.
You're defeated right out of the gate.
Which separates us spiritually from what we're called to. Because remember, God can't, or the devil can't take your calling. All he can do is kill your confidence. And the moment that the physical component has been stripped, it poisons us emotionally, erodes us mentally, and thus separates us from that God-given calling. But the moment that you flip that paradigm on its head, and you're able to connect with whose you are, not who you are, the calling in which is there on your life, whether you're meant to be the best educator, whether you're meant to be the best musician, whether you're meant to be the best actor, whether you're meant to be the best coach, entrepreneur, whatever that is for you, when you can attach to the burn that exists inside of you,
Yeah.
the thing that God has ignited in each one of you as a unique individual,
Yeah.
that renews your mind. It renews your mind
Yes.
to go, I am exactly where I need to be. I'm not where I want to go, but I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah.
I am being shaped.
Yeah.
I'm being shaped right now. And mentally, it takes everything away, which eases the anxiety, takes anxiety to action, takes fear to faith,
Yeah.
takes emotional eroding to emotional healing. And as soon as you're able to go spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and then
Yeah.
tap into, okay, what is God calling me to do?
Yeah.
You know when you haven't been training the right way. You know when you haven't been eating the right way. You know
Yeah.
when you haven't been sleeping the right way. You know when you haven't been focusing on stress management the right way. You
Yeah.
know when you haven't been doing enough self-care.
Yeah.
Like, you know in your soul. But instead of feeling guilty about it, feeling shame about it, feeling these negative emotions because it's about a look,
Yeah.
and you flip it on its head and you know, no, I have to do this because I'm stewarding this gift that the Lord has given me
Yeah.
to go step into a bigger calling. That's when the habits, the behaviors, the routines that you're trying to integrate into your life suddenly happen with ease.
Yeah.
The yoke is easy, the burden is light, only because it's rooted in what God's given you.
I've got a new book out called Leading Yourself. And chapter 1 of Leading Yourself is about living on mission. It's all about identifying God's calling for your life, writing a life mission statement, living into that mission statement. And same book, I've got a chapter on health, but it's chapter 5, and because first you got to know what your mission is, what your calling is. Like you're saying, chapter 2 is on emotional intelligence and how to process negative emotions. And so I saved the health chapter till chapter 5 because there's some foundational things that need to be laid. And I think you're right. It's identifying that calling and that mission, that purpose for your life. So important. What is it? Acts 4 says David fulfilled God's purpose for his life and he died. I love that verse because that's what I want.
Yep.
I want to fulfill God's purpose for my life and then I'll die. And I love one of my life verses is Deuteronomy 34:8. It says Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not weak and his strength was not gone. And so here Moses had led the Hebrew people through 40 years of wilderness, tough job. He gets to the brink of the promised land and God says, Moses, I'm retiring you. But it's not because he was tired. It's not because he had heart disease. It's not because he had arthritis. He was living with full vitality.
Yep.
God's saying, your purpose is done. I've used you to your fullest and you've lived your 120 years with full vitality. You've accomplished your purpose.
Yep.
And man, I wish more believers could get a hold of that and go, God has created me for a purpose and I want to take every breath with fullest energy and live my life with fullest vitality. That's why Cindy and I, our mantra is we want to die young at an old age.
Yeah.
And so every day, man, I'm moving for 90-year-old Mac. I'm eating for 90-year-old Mac because I know if I'm going to fulfill God's purpose for my life, I've got to have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
It's not about the body image. It's not about how you look. It's about how you feel and how much energy you have.
Something that's unique though, as you step into that, is that's a very different mindset. It's a mindset that's very uncommon.
Right.
And for everybody listening, what ends up happening as you step into that new mindset, that thought process that's differently, you're going to notice that the people that you're striving to be like, the people who are successful in life, to whatever definition that looks like, they've all chosen to live life with a different mindset.
Yes.
They've chosen to step into something that's new and different. You look at somebody who has elite level of fitness.
Yeah.
You look somebody who has an elite level of mental clarity. You look at somebody who's living with an elite level of longevity. You look at somebody who's living an elite level of purpose, that they wake up and they're thriving. Like, not just, I'm not talking financially. I'm not talking you wake up with a big bank account or a big home or a big car or a big boat or whatever this is. I'm talking you wake up and you're thriving. You're on fire. You've got this burn inside of you. You've got a glow about you, similar to what you've got going on. These are the people that have chosen to live differently in accordance to their mission and their calling. And so my question for you is when you've been able to now make this mindset switch and this mindset change to say, hey, I want to live this way. I want to steward this tool, this vehicle, in a positive way, in a powerful way. What was that for you? When did that start to happen?
It happened when I was 40. I was overweight. I was tired all the time. I was stressed out. I was eating terrible. I wasn't exercising. I'd come home, my kids would want to play, and I'd say, let's play hide and seek. Dad's going to go hide. You guys have to find me. And I'd find a really good hiding space. And I'd take a nap while they were trying to find me. And it was terrible. And I thought, I don't want to live like this.
And what were you doing at the time?
I was pastoring a church. I'd planted a church. We were probably 3 years into that church plant. And the stress levels on my life were high. 3 young children, not making a lot of money, planting a brand new church, not knowing if it's going to make it, And so there was a lot of that in my life. And I was looking at the way I was living and the way I was feeling. And I thought, something's got to change, because I want to give my kids better. And I want to model for my kids. I want to model for them. They may not appreciate it till later in their life, which came true. But I want to model for them what a healthy spiritual and physical life looks like, as well as marriage and things like that as well. But I want to model for them what this healthy life looks like. And that's important. So I want to have energy. I don't want to sit across from somebody I'm coaching or my team that I'm leading and just go, oh, I really don't want to be here because I'm tired. I'm irritable. I'm frustrated. I don't feel good, I don't have fresh vision. I don't have energy. I might have vision, but I don't have the energy to go after it. And I'm watching so many leaders experience that. So that switched it for me, was what could be.
So I love that, because when you think about it, I believe there are 2 key components. And when you look at the Bible, I go to Romans 12:1 and 2. Therefore, brothers and sisters, use your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Those 7 words, this is your true and proper worship, those kicked me right in the teeth when I was reading that. And I had read that scripture over and over and over and over again. And it wasn't until I said it and goes, oh my God, this is literally what we're called to do. How are you living? That's what God cares about. It's amazing to go into the church and raise your hands during the gospel music and get into it, get down on your knees. It's great to pray. It's great to do it. He loves all of that. But what does he do? What are you doing with his greatest gift? What are you doing with his greatest creation? Genesis talks about he made the animals. These are good. Made the water, made the sun, the moon, the night, the stars, the morning, the sun. These are good. Made you and I. This is very good.
Very good.
His greatest creation, what are you doing to steward it? What are you doing to manage it? That is true and proper worship.
The one thing he's given you that is
Very good.
very, very, very good. How are you stewarding it?
And there's only one thing that he's ever created that he lives in.
Wow.
There's only ever one thing he's created that he lives in, and it's you and I.
Man.
And the one thing that he's chosen to live in, the one thing that the creator of everything chose to live in, we're choosing not to steward.
We steward our money, we steward other things, possessions, but our body is the last thing we think about.
Love God and love the tool that he's given you. If you can do these 2 things, I guarantee you life changes very fast.
Wow. That's the beginning of a mindset shift that will change your health trajectory. Give me 2 or 3 other tips for somebody that says, okay, I've tried from the wrong motivation. You're telling me I need a mindset shift in order to really see this physical change, feel different, all that. What are 2 or 3 other tips for mindset change that you can give us?
I mean, number one is coming back to the concept of what does that burn for you? What is the thing that God's ignited uniquely inside of you? Because you look at a lot of people, and number one, we can't help everybody. I still remember sitting with the Navy SEALs, and I was sitting across from them. We had just done a big education session with them, and I said to the captain, I said, when you go in on your helicopter and you've got a shipwreck down there. It's a storm. It's blowing. It's crazy. It's tough. You've got waves coming up and over. You've got waves crashing. You've got 30 or 40 people in the water. I said, who do you save first? And he goes, who do you think? I'm like, women and children, like the weakest person. Like, that's what I'm thinking, right? Like, he goes, no. He goes, we save the people who are swimming towards the helicopter. And I'm like, my God, like, what a gift that is to each and every one of us. Because how many of us start chasing and wanting to help everybody when we're actually we're not serving the people who are begging for our service and begging for our help. And so when you come back to this mindset shift that we have to have, it's what are you actually doing that's the burn on your life? Because if you're not operating in that, whatever that fire is that's there, it might be a glowing ember. It might be something that is just still alive because it's not going out because the Lord planted it there. But what puff of oxygen does it need? What new realization does it need? What fresh breath of air does it need? So where do you need to change the environment you're in? Do you need to change the people you're around? Do you need to change the career that you're in? Do you need to change what you do day to day? Do you need to change the way the relationship that you're in? Like, what do you have to do in order to start to ignite that thing inside of you? And that you start to do those types of things, it's a mindset shift that will start to get you further along to where you're trying to go.
Because a lot of times you hang around different people, you get a different mindset.
It's everything we're talking about here comes back to identity. You go back to my story, and my identity was that I was only worth something is if I was performing. And so I didn't see myself as worthy in the body that I was living in. And that was the identity that the enemy would lie to me on, and that the enemy would steal my joy in every single thing that I did. And it's something, even to this day, I'm still continuing to go through a lot of spiritual healing on, and continuing to address, and continuing to look at, and continue to unturn different stones that I was like, man, gosh, I didn't know that was still there. I didn't know that existed. And as you were going through this, a lot of us have to do that same thing, because these concepts that we're sitting in, these identities, it's like we have a thermostat internally, okay? And so you talk about it's the people that you hang around, it's the people that you engage with. We have a thermostat internally, and if you have a thermostat that's set at 70 degrees when it comes to your health, when it comes to your identity of who you are in this body and this shell that you exist in, and you go and you get super excited about a mission that you want to do, and like this purpose of why you're living, and this thing ignites, and you're like, I'm gonna go for this. Well, all of a sudden you start operating at an 80 or a 90. You start going to bed a little earlier, you start getting into the gym, you start eating a little better, you start getting your water in throughout the day. Suddenly there's a little voice that goes, Mac, you're not a 90-degree guy. You're a 70-degree guy. You know that. And so over the course of 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we slowly start to go back to the old habits that we had, because our identity hasn't shifted to be somebody who lives that way. We are not somebody who stewards our body well. We are not somebody who lives this way. We are not somebody who's worth doing this. We are not somebody who has a mission great enough to start making some sacrifices to live this way.
I've never succeeded with this before. Why should I succeed this time?
And so over the course, you look back 2 months later and you're doing the same thing that you've done over and over and over again. But all of a sudden, there's a couple different things that we can do to start to change that identity, so you can become that 90-degree person when it comes to your health and the stewardship. And I have this little model I say. So number one, there's 3 things. Number one is there has to be a belief. There has to be a belief that that is available for me. If there's no belief, there's no hope. If there's no hope, you have nothing. And so there has to be a belief that that can be a reality for me. Once you have the belief, there has to be an intent. And too many of us base our confidence off of performance and outcomes rather than intentions. I have the intention to eat well. I have the intention to go to the gym. I have the intention to go to bed consistently. I have a plan set. I've done it. I've invested. But so many of us base our confidence on the outcome.
Yeah.
rather than the process and the intention on the way there.
And the outcome, you can make an intention today.
Correct.
But the outcome's not going to follow.
Amen.
For a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of
Or
years.
a couple of years, yeah.
It's going to take
Wow.
time.
Wow.
And then number 3 is association.
Yeah.
Who do you associate with? Are the people that you're associating with confirming or denying the belief that you're looking for?
Yeah.
Are they aiding or detracting from the intentions that you're setting?
Wow.
And so when you start to do that, you start to get a real belief, you start to get a full intention, and you start to make sure that you associate with different people. I guarantee you that identity starts to change, because you can't be around 90-degree people and still operate at a 70-degree mindset.
Right. Right.
Because you are going to start to see an increase in that thermostat internally and who you believe you are.
Yeah.
And as soon as you decide that you are the fit person, you are the person that stewards your body so that you can ultimately take on what's there, that's where you're going to step into, because God cannot bless what you haven't chose to change. And at the end of the day, what you're not prepared for, he can't ultimately bless.
Right.
Because what you're praying for does not hold a candle to what you're called for, but what you're called for, you're not yet prepared for. And so where does your preparation come from?
Yeah.
And it comes from the preparation of the tool that God gave you, the thing that he said is very good, the thing that he chose to live in, the thing that he chose to be here on, because there is a reason that you are here. And if you choose not to step into this, I believe it's the most selfish thing you can do, because the calling that's on your life is somebody else's miracle. And they're sitting and waiting.
Yeah.
They're sitting and waiting for you to change this thing so that you can realize the outcome, and they'll continue to wait.
Yeah.
But God will continue to use other people.
Wow. You guys, this is incredible. I mean, what we're talking about here is, if you want to change your health, it doesn't really start by going in the gym. It doesn't even start with going in and cleaning out your refrigerator and your cupboard. It starts with your mind, cleaning out your mind and allowing God to help you identify what your calling is on your life, what that burn is, what that passion is, and then beginning to set an intention of what type of person do you want to become and live towards that. It's all begins, your health journey begins as a mindset. I want to come back, and next I want us to talk about the nutritional aspect of the health journey. So join us for that next session as well.